This is The Download from Sounds Profitable, your daily source for the essential news in the business of podcasting. I'm Gavin Gaddis, back from winter break. Here's what you need to know for today, Monday, January 5th. I had a lot of stuff to go through, so it's a full episode today. First up, the tool copying podcast, stripping the ads and selling them. This is an investigation into a website called Podcast Ad Block, published by James Cridland. He finds the site is using AI to copy podcasts, strip the ads, and sell them as a new ad-free feed back to users. For $9.99 a month USD, users can have access to unlimited ad-free versions of podcast feeds. A spokesperson also told Pod News there is no way for publishers to opt out of their feeds being stripped, and publishers receive none of the revenue collected by Podcast Ad Block. The service reflects a lost revenue on both ends of the ad being stripped and also the ad-free offerings that many publishers already have through Apple Podcasts, Supporting Cast, and other companies. Ironically, YouTuber and entrepreneur Ben Bowler, which Pod News found is the creator of this, is also the head of a startup designed to protect music from unlicensed AI training. Next up, why doesn't AI recommend indie podcasts? Speaking of AI, this is a look at how generative AI chatbots, despite being the new hotness of search, leave some big blind spots when used for podcast curation and recommendation. When asked for the best podcast of 2025, ChatGPT returned a list of chart toppers like New Heights and The Daily. Only when specifically prompted for best independent podcasts of the year did it begin to return shows that were critically acclaimed despite relatively low chart performance, which only then appears to be the result of the AI trawling best of lists on popular sites. GenAI chatbots, philosophically, give users the most likely answer to get a positive response from the user. As a result, without discoverability strategies specifically tuned to grabbing the attention of chatbots, there's an awkward future where discoverability takes a step backwards, where people search for new podcasts and only get shows that are mentioned in Vulture end-of-year lists or the handful that get written up in The Atlantic every year. Next up, and I'm not going to lie, the headline on this one's a little exaggerative, but painful to hear how a podcast rush to video is turning them into dreadful listens. This is a Guardian article looking at the rising trend of big-name video podcasting and some of the downsides that has brought alongside with it for the content itself. For example, Joe Marler Will See You Now's episode with Nick Muhammad features a multi-minute card trick, which is already something that's difficult to make entertaining on camera, that's impossible for audio-only consumers to decipher, as the card trick can't really be described. Getting gear for quality video is also an issue, such as early episodes of The Rest is Football when they used lav mics in a cavernous studio. Neither of these problems are unique to those individual podcasts, but they do represent new pain points for companies as they dive headfirst into video podcasting. A move that, if not handled deftly and with an understanding of both production and presentation for the medium, can be detrimental to both the video and the audio version of the podcast. Next up, people watched 700 million hours of YouTube podcasts on TV in October. Head of product for podcasts at YouTube, Steve McLendon, tells Ashley Carmen the growth of video podcasting has surprised even YouTube. According to their internal data, 700 million hours of video podcasts were consumed on living room devices, for example, connected TVs, in October of 2025. With 700 million being such a large number, Pod News puts that into perspective. For example, back in February, YouTube announced they had crossed the threshold of 1 billion hours of YouTube streamed to TVs daily. At 700 million hours per month, video podcasting thus makes up about 2.3% of YouTube TV streaming, compared to Nielsen's data showing podcasts make up 20% of ad-funded audio. One crucial context to consider here when looking at video podcast rates on YouTube specifically is the fact that a podcast is delineated by the uploader if they tick that it's a podcast, which means there's uncounted shows out there that aren't technically podcasts, but they're podcasts. I know myself from my own YouTube adventures, I still regularly see video shows out there that are, for all extensive purposes, called podcasts, but the creator hasn't turned it into an actual podcast feed on YouTube's backend. After all, this is on a platform that, as New York Times coverage of Nielsen data shows, daytime viewership is over double of Netflix. That's 6.3 million average daytime viewers on YouTube versus 2.8 million daytime viewers on Netflix. And for today's final top story, all signal, no noise. Mondo Metrics founder Nick Cicero reflects on the death of MTV's music channels as of New Year's Day. He notes that while no major US TV networks are still programming music videos, audiences for watching music and music-adjacent content are still massive. The difference is that audience isn't on cable TV like they were in the 80s. They're on YouTube. Cicero points to polling students in a graduate course he teaches. He asks them how many watch a lot of YouTube. Only a few hands went up. Then one student mentioned she puts on YouTube music video playlists while she's cooking and lets her TV play the audio. When that activity was added into the group's understanding of what watching YouTube is, half of the room qualified. There's a perception gap between stated media habits and actual CTV usage behavior. Music videos are also considered digital video in the advertising world, isolating them from TV budgets, which indicates a buying inefficiency of TV-scale audiences priced like digital video and with little to no competition for TV ad budget. As for the rest of the news, Magellan AI has a new case study with Ad Results Media looking at delivery from two major audio networks to find advertisers can add significant incremental reach by adding streaming to a podcast plan without also increasing podcast frequency. Backyard Ventures has signed on John Jarvis as Chief Revenue Officer. Congratulations, John. LiveOne and DAX United States have announced they are renewing their exclusive partnership for 2026. I saw a lot of numbers there at the same time, so let me give some context on this one. LiveOne and DAX have had this partnership since 2015, and LiveOne projects that there will be a 30% year-over-year increase in programmatic audio ad revenue for 2026. Speaking of data, Audio Boom has published their 2025 numbers in review with key takeaways like 1.5 billion hours of listening, 200,000 published episodes, and $63 million generated for creators throughout the year. Acast has acquired German studio audio and video Wake Word Studios, which will be rebranded as the German arm of Acast Creative Studios. And finally, as reported in Pod News, Netflix has a new support page on their site which instructs users on how to find video podcasts. You can just search the word podcast in Netflix, and that'll pull everything up. According to Netflix, sports video podcasts will launch on January 12th, and everything else will drop on January 26th, though these podcasts are going to be in the United States only. Now, one of those is breaking that because the first wave will include the Bill Simmons podcast, which debuts January 11th with a weekly live show every Sunday at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be sure to check out the links to every article I just talked about by clicking the one link in your show notes. I try to keep it simple. That'll take you to today's episode post on soundsprofitable.com, where I have the link to every single thing I talked about. Also on the website, you can sign up for the newsletter version of the download, which gives you an email with every single link in it as well to keep things simple. The download is written and produced by myself, Brian Barletta, and Tom Webster. For Sounds Profitable, I'm Gavin Gaddis, and I'll see you tomorrow.